Good afternoon. Today is January 18th. It's a Saturday, 2025, January 18th, and this is video number 6. The topic today is once again fear, because as I look through and examine all of these different scam examples that I've collected, the panel for the electric, that was me. The mouse remediation, that was me. The waste stack, that was almost me. I escaped thanks to an honest plumber. I escaped the worst of it. The gas leak, that was partly real. There was another scam that happened to me. The gas leak happened to somebody else. The two scams that almost happened to me was an IRS scam call on the phone and an electric company call on the phone, which was also false, was a scam. But those two things had like a degree of reality. What do I mean by that? With the IRS scam, I did actually, that year, this was over 10 years ago, I did actually owe the IRS a lot of money, a boatload of money. I did. That was real. What was not real was them calling. The IRS does not call you on the phone. They tell you this. They don't call you. They'll send you paper letters and say, you owe us a ton of money. But they will not call you on the phone. They'll never, and when you call them, you can never get the same person twice by design because they don't want to get, targeted. That's what one of them told me that once. Anyway, those things had a degree of reality. The gas leak had a degree of reality because there really was a leak. What was wrong was that workers did not come to that lady's door. Those were not workers. Those were con artists. The other thing that happened was the IRS thing was partly real because I did owe money, but the calls were fake. Oh, we're going to send you to prison. We're going to send the authorities are coming unless you do this or that. And since I did owe money, I was kind of scared. Once again, what's the wedge? Fear is the wedge. And sometimes if they can hook into a little bit of what's real, a reality, then they got you even harder. They're going to get you. They're going to really, you're in danger. If you have something that's partly real, like the gas thing was real. That was for real. The IRS thing was partly real. And the third thing that almost happened to me was the electric company called me, which they didn't. And that's another story. But that one was partly real because I had put a note into my online banking thing, and I had put a note in to contact them about changing the account over to my husband. So that part was real, but that's not what this was. That was a different scam. But since I don't want this to go to 20 minutes, I'll just tell you in another video about. So those three things had a somewhat basis in reality. The gas leak, we could all smell it. The IRS, I did owe them money that year. And then the electric company, I did leave a note, but that's not what that was. Anyway, what else? My friend who lost $8,000 from these jerks, what they did was they hacked his computer. They sent the screen. They made the screen go black, and they said, call this number. And that's where it all went wrong. He called the number, and they asked him to verify his bank account number, which he did. And once he verified, I don't know how they had the number to begin with, but they did somehow, and they wanted it to be verified. And he verified it, and then before you know it, he's out $8,000. Now, what was the fear there? He's a writer, and he's published books, several books, and data to him is very important. It's his time, it's his effort, it's his life, his heart, all the effort you put into writing, which, by the way, I think you deserve to get paid even a little bit for, by the way, a different topic. We're not going to do that anymore. But anyhow, and that was the fear of losing his data. Fear of losing his data. And then in my fear, the fear of the almost waste stack debacle, what almost debacle was, he tried to make me more afraid. He said, if you don't change this waste stack, your whole property is going to be covered in sewage. Do you want to be living in sewage, Miss Coletta? No. So you need to spend $30,000 on a new waste stack. And then when Sam came over, little baby Sam, little adorable Sam, who's everybody's best friend, I said to him what happened. I told him what happened. He said, oh, that Viz, he's such a card. Oh, that Viz, what a son of a gun he is. Isn't he something? Oh, that Viz, ha ha ha. He's a real character, isn't he? And I'm thinking, like, you think this is funny? You think this is something to admire? He almost put me under. He could have put me under. I would have been put out of my home. My parents' home that they built, I would have been put out of my house because all of these monthly payments, how can you afford 250 here, another 100 there, and another 300 there? By the time you get done with all these monthly payments, you don't have enough money to live anymore. How are you going to pay your property taxes? Huh? But do they care? Hell no! They don't care. They care, cha-ching, they care about pleasing Fagin, their boss. They're nasty, criminal bosses at that company. That's all they care about. Look at me. I signed it up for 30,000. Aren't I wonderful? Another time, this company, when you belong to their so-called program, so-called, um, you have the right to these monthly visits or periodic visits, right? And so I said, all right, since I paid for it anyway, go ahead and come visit and you can do a checkup. And I said, why don't you check? This was the plumbers. Why don't you check to see if the pipes are all okay and nothing's leaking? Because my neighbor had a leak, legit leak, and he had a big basement flood and there was a big mess. And so I wanted to forestall, if you have the chance to stop something before it happens, you do it, right? That's the sensible thing. So the plumbers, Ben Franklin, came in on my free service and they checked the basement, they checked everything. He came upstairs and he was all ready. He was all ready with his iPad. He was all ready. He put that iPad on the table, and as soon as I saw that iPad, I said, "Oh no, these iPads have gotten me in trouble before." And I just froze when I saw that another iPad. This is the third time with an iPad. I was expected to sign for something, and I said, "What is it that you're asking me to do?" And he said, "Well, I'm not sure what you call it. It wasn't the first almost debacle was the outflow. I don't know, it's waste stack or something. What takes the sewage out to the city sewer. This was the opposite. This was the clean water coming in, the inflow pipe. He wanted me to replace the inflow pipe, and he had his little iPad all ready. It was all ready. Here's the iPad, and he looked at me expectantly. It was like this. It was like, ready? Ready to sign? Are you ready to sign? Because you signed before. This one is a live wire. This one is a real asshole, idiot woman, a real, stupid woman, a stupid old lady, because she signed twice before. We can get her to sign again and scribble with her little finger. Woo! Sign once for Terminex. We signed on the little iPad, and once for Mr. Sparky with that panel I didn't need. I signed on a little iPad. And when I see iPads now, I cringe. So he gets his little iPad all ready. He puts it on the kitchen table and he's looking at me expectantly, like, well, this is the contract, and and it's on a loan, and you pay monthly. And I've heard this before, and you gotta have a new one. We'll replace the one because I said, well, what's wrong with the one I have now? He said, well, I said, is it leaking? He said, well, no. I said, if it's not leaking, why should I replace it? He said, oh, once again. Once again, if they can make you fear something, they got you. People are horrible. So anyway, I said, well, if it's not leaking, I cannot afford to do something prophylactic. See if he knows that's a 10-cent word. I can't afford to do something in case something might happen that isn't already happening. He said, oh, well, it could happen. After all, this house was built in 1952, which it was. And I said, yes, but a lot of things by now, if you notice, my widow brain is starting to wake up. Because I said to him, a lot of things could happen. The dinosaurs were killed by meteors that fell from the sky and killed them all. That could happen again. It could happen. We could have a tsunami. It could happen. We could have space aliens invade us. That could happen. We could have the Russians come in or the Chinese invade us, and that could happen. And there could be another pandemic and wipe everybody out, and that could happen. A lot of things could happen. But I can't afford all of these monthly loans and payments on something that might happen. And then I said, I'll show you out now. Closed the little iPad, looking very disappointed. Oh, Oh, she made me close my iPad. Oh, I hate these people. I hate these people so much. You have no idea how much I hate these people. So I showed them to the door, and then I got on the phone with Mr. Ben Franklin Plumbing, and I canceled my monthly service contract and the one with Sparky too. I had monthly. Not only was I on the hook for those loans, but I was paying them monthly for God knows what. Who knows? The owner's yacht or his second house or something. I don't know. Who knows what? The people are so vicious and so mean to widows. Widows are like open season on widows, man. They see a widow and they go, here.